moment to put away your phone. To take out your headphones. Don't hide them behind your hair. Take them out. I know how they work, that you can turn them on and off. It doesn't matter. During a lesson, headphones are out. And check this out, because I'm going to do two things at once. I am going to do the lesson, but I'm also going to give you an awesome reference sheet to get ready for your quiz. Same time. Ready? We can solve for, we can solve for all the missing sides and angles if we are given two sides or one side and one angle. That probably seemed impossible a few days ago. But as long as we have two sides or one side and an angle, we can do it all. We can do everything. That's what I'm teaching today. Don't forget, you can also use the Pythagorean theorem. Well, we're not going to forget because we're going to put it on our fancy reference sheet. Yeah, your reference sheet, you're going to be flipping back and forth, okay? You'll see me flip back and forth. Solve each triangle by finding all the unknown values. We need two ideas here, two separate peoples to tell us what I could solve for here based on what's given. They gave me two sides. If they give me two sides, I have two choices. One of them is not better than the other. You got two choices. I'm talking long enough to let you think. Think in your brain, what could I solve for in this triangle now that I have two sides? Shh. Don't have side conversations. This is the decision you got to make on Thursday. If you were given two sides, what could I go after? I hope he chokes. Oh my goodness. Alex, what could we solve for? Yeah. Flip over to your reference sheet. Flip over to your reference sheet. Mr. Todd's perfect guide to right triangles. I almost made it without making a spelling mistake there. Shh. Number one, he says, if you have two sides, he says choice number one that he could do to get, he says you get a third side. Get a third side. By, ooh, does he know the answer? I'm sure he does know the answer. You think about it, go. If I have two sides, how will I get?
Mr. I'm beefing with someone.
You're what?
My boyfriend right now? Like arguing with.
Beeping?
Beefing.
Beefing. Well, don't dump him. You can do better. Get a third side by the Pythagorean theorem. Yeah? Alex, you knew that, right? By using the Pythagorean theorem.
I thought you meant something else.
Oh, yeah, no. It's easier than that. Do you have two sides? I mean, in the one lesson we said, oh, you could do this or you could do this. I don't think people do that. I think if you got two sides, they knock down the third side with the Pythagorean theorem. That's the way to go. Huh? I'll do that in a second. I'll do that in just a second. But there's a second choice. And one's not better than the other. Given two sides, oops, I got to go back to here. And don't worry, if you're on your reference sheet and you got to flip back and you got to go back and forth, don't worry, I'll go back and forth all you want to get this reference sheet built perfectly for Thursday's quiz. You're like, this is going to be huge. It's not. There's only one and two. That's the only two things that we got to worry about. Do this or do this. I will in just a second. because I'm going to add to it in just a second. So I'm going back and forth anyways. So I'll be back in a second. For now, just think. Given two sides, what else could I go after? Jackson. An angle. Yesterday we found out, given two sides, we can get the angle. And I didn't think everybody found it that hard, actually. It went pretty straightforward. It went pretty well. Using, what will I use to get the angle? Do you remember yesterday? SOH. Yes. Definitely SOH. But I'm going to write in brackets, and something new came up. A new button on your calculator. Not a new button, a new use of a button. What did we have to do when we were finding angles? Yeah, the inverse. So maybe it'll be sine -1, cos -1, one of those buttons. That's important to have on your guide to remind you that if we're going to go after an angle, get ready, you're going to need those specialized buttons.
How do you get that again?
That's what we're going to do right now. That's what we're going back after it today. Okay? That's number one. All I got, the other half of this lesson is just teach number two, which you already know from a previous lesson, but I'm just going to bring it back together here. So let's do that. Let's do both of those things here. Who wants to take a shot at the Pythagorean theorem here? Let me ask you. Let you think about it. I'll ask somebody else, but everybody think about it. Will I be adding or will I be subtracting? How do you know you're adding? Yeah, you're going after the big side. If you subtract, you're going to get smaller. We need bigger. Joseph, take a shot at it. What do you got? He did not mention the formula, and I'm okay with that. I can live with it. But if you like to write c squared equals a squared plus b squared, I like it too. I like it just as much as you do. If it's not a good fit for you, then break up with that step. You can do better. This went well. Our quiz went well on this. Most people seem to recognize what they had to do here. Square those. Add those. The weird thing you do. What's it called? Square root. And what'd you get? 17 centimeters. Write that on my triangle. That's what we did day 1 of the chapter. Given two sides, we can get the third. Jackson, you have a question about this, or are you ready to do the other part? Question about this, go. No, 225 plus 64 is the same as 64 plus 225. A and B can interchange. C can't. You know, you got to have hypotenuse by itself. It's different than the other sides. It's bigger. It's longer. And that's why it's on the other side. But that's a good question. Now we need someone who did enough of yesterday's. Because the other part here, I'll go back over to here in case you're writing that. I'm going to come back to it. So if you're still writing, just don't panic. Just wait a second. If you have two sides, we can get a third side using Pythagorean theorem. Just showed that. Our other choice that we found out yesterday was instead we could go after an angle using SOH and the crazy version of those buttons. Okay? I'm going back. I'll come back to this. We're not done with this, so you haven't finished copying it down on your page behind. That's okay. We'll come right back to it in just a second. Here we go. Does anybody remember how to do this? What's step 1 in SOH? Whether you're doing angles or sides, the steps are very, very similar. Step 1, please do this. Circle the angle you're going to use. Now listen, friends. You could do B or A here. It doesn't matter which one you go after first in this particular situation. So you got your choice. I'm going to circle B because people are generally happier with the angle at the bottom. Labeling the side seems to go better for them. But I could go after A. If you're like, why didn't you go after A? Could. Totally would work. After I circle the angle I'm going to use, then what does that allow me to do? You're a step ahead of me. I'll jump ahead, and he says, I'm going to write down SOH. And it wouldn't be wrong to do that. It wouldn't be wrong to go, okay, let's write down SOH. But to use SOH, I got to... So which one is which? What's the 17? That's the hypotenuse. How do you know it's the hypotenuse? It's across the 90, or other people say it's the biggest one. Either one. Then what's the next two? Opposite's the opposite one from the angle, so that's opposite. And then this one's called adjacent. Now, just so you're clear, I said you could do this first, so maybe we wouldn't have the 17. Okay? You can use the 17 if you want, but just to do it from what I was saying, gentlemen, what two sides do I have here? OA. I know I've got the hypotenuse, but let's just pretend I didn't already do that. If I'm using OA, which of these? TOA. So I'm doing tan of A equals, see, TOA is two things. One is it's which of these do I use, but it also tells you which way to divide, Jackson. What's that? Oh, good catch, thank you. I don't know why I wrote A there. I would have been so sad if my video had a mistake like that. Tan B, I'm going after B. That's what we circled. We're using tan because I have opposite and adjacent. That's what I was saying. I was pretending I didn't have hypotenuse because maybe someone didn't do that first. So use the sides that you were given. So tan of B equals opposite over adjacent, which again, we found out yesterday, you can get that as a decimal, you can write it all out, or you can use the technology you have and just go, oh, press that crazy tan inverse button, and inside the brackets, type either 8 fraction 15 or 8 divided by 15. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Your calculator knows what you're trying to accomplish. And if you don't remember how to do that, to use the tan inverse button, I think a lot of the calculators you guys are using and borrow in the class, that's not a second function, it's a shift. So you hit shift, and then you hit the tan button, and it comes up tan with a little -1 there, meaning opposite tan, undo tan. Open a bracket, and type in 8 divided by 15, or 8 over 15, whichever way you want. If you wanted that as a decimal, if you feel better with it as a decimal, no problem. You'll get the same thing. You'll just have to write all the decimals, and that's fine. And I get B equals 28.07, and I told you yesterday, nearest degree is totally fine. Question? This is 28 degrees down here. That's what I just found out. I'm not done yet. Good. If that ever happens, I'm going to show you how to fix it. But if it ever happens, you can call me over in the test and I'll fix it for you. Oh, no, he's talking about the degree button at the top. So go shift mode. No, shift mode. And then hit 3 for degrees. Oops, you missed it. Did you hit it? Okay. I couldn't tell whether you hit the 3 or the plus first. Oh, you got a different calculator? Yeah, it'll just be a different button. I'll find it. Oh, yours is called second function.
Yeah, but
Oh, and yours is in a crazy mode. It's in scientific mode. Here, let me get it fixed up for you.
yeah, because I was trying to do this and I couldn't do it.
See your pencil? Watch this move. Yeah. Should be good now. So second, tan, and then open a bracket and go 8 divided by 15. Close the bracket, press equals, and you get the answer. Yep. Yeah, it's got to be degrees at the top. One of these won't be in degrees. See, that's in degrees. This one's in radians. Oh. So I'm going to put it in degrees and then try it again. So you got to be in degree mode. On the quiz on Thursday, I'll be like, look at your calculator, make sure it's in degree mode. Okay, now you can have a quiz. We don't want that to go wrong. Yeah? All right, friends. This said get all the sides and all the angles. I'm not making a note of this in my guide. I don't want the guide to be too complicated because this is supposed to be the easy step. How do you get the last angle? Jackson?
A equals 180 minus 90 minus 20.
Yes. So to get the last angle, subtract them all from 180. But I will put a little note on your guide, okay? We'll put a little visual on there that might come up. That was all in red. I'll put it in festive green for Christmas. And I'll put it off to the side here. And I'll just put a little triangle there. And inside it, I'll write 180 degrees. That could come up in all this. But that's supposed to be easy to us, that part of it. Now I'll stay on that screen for a minute or two so Isla stops yelling at me, taking out her anger issues on me instead of the person she's really beefing with. Really, let's be honest. Time to upgrade. New operating system. Yeah, that's not a very good birthday gift. Yeah. Do you need more time here? We're good? Do you have any questions on that? Other situation. Example 2. There's only 2 examples here. There's a lot to know on each example. Here's the other situation. Instead, they give you a side and an angle. The note says we can do this too.
Wait, can you go back? To like the other triangle. For like 3 seconds.
Okay? No? More time? That was good. Snacks, Galba. Thank you. Pulled right up. Those green ones, those green sheets, though, they're not ripe yet. They're a little tangy. You need a red one.
Can I guess what you might use for this?
Hold on. Yes, I want Jackson to guess, but I want everybody to look for a second. Can you see how this situation is different than the last one? One angle, one side. Okay? This is different, and this is a couple days old now, what we did here. Okay? What are you going to use?
I'm going to guess cross multiplication.
It will be eventually cross multiplication. We're going to build a ratio, and we're going to cross multiply. He's remembering right. What do we have to do first to build that ratio, that proportion? The same steps. It's TOA. Let's go back to your reference sheet. 2. If you have, I don't know why everybody did a comment there. Shh, shh. Don't just keep going when I say shh. Don't wait until I'm turned around and then go back to your conversation. If you have one side and one angle, you don't have 2 choices. You should be happy about that. You're like, oh, I don't have to choose this time. Use TOA. To get another side. My guide is essentially over at that point. Use TOA to get another side. And you're like, oh no, but what do I do after that? Wait till you see what happens after I get another side. That's why it's a good guide. I might add one arrow. That's all. I'll add an arrow. That's all I got left to add to your guide. Use TOA to get another side. You're like, I don't know if I remember that. I know. That's why we're doing it in this lesson, to review how to get a side using a side and an angle. I'll come back to the reference sheet. So you don't have it all. That's okay. First step in SOH. Circle the angle, and this time I've got the angle. I won't have to use the crazy sine inverse button. I've got the angle this time. After you have the angle, label the sides. Yes? This one's hypotenuse. JK is what? No. JK is the adjacent because it's beside the angle. This one's opposite. Now, you do have some freedom here. I can go after opposite or I can go after adjacent. It doesn't matter. SOH is like, what do you want to do? I can do both. I'll write down SOH. SOH is like, you got hypotenuse? Good. I can do opposite. I can do adjacent. What do you want to do? I know there's homework questions where you had to, they labeled one and said, find this. And that you had to do a certain side. But when you're doing all of them, you can just choose. So you want to go after opposite or you want to go after adjacent? Opposite or adjacent? Which one? Opposite. He says I want to go after opposite, but it's a choice. So don't get paralyzed by that. SOH does multiple things here. So sine of 72, and I'm hoping as I start this question, you come back online, your brain goes, oh, I remember this now. Opposite, ooh, it doesn't have a name. I'm going to call it little j. Opposite over hypotenuse. That's a j. Now what? Do you remember now? Shh.
Oh, then you under it, put over 1.
Put it over 1. But that still doesn't help me because I don't know what sine of 72 is. The calculator takes care of that part of it. Sine 72, so here is this part you are stuck with the decimals. 95, 10, 56, 5, 16. I don't know if I actually remembered all that. Let's just check. I tried to say it out loud so that maybe I had a chance remembering it. 95, 10, 56, 5. I did remember it all. Whoa, that's pretty good for me. Now I've got my proportions set up. My calculator got the crazy decimal for me. I know in the homework I said just use 4 decimal places. And I only did that, so if you're playing along with me and you're typing it in, you can see you got the same thing. But 4 decimal places is fine. Now what? Now I can cross multiply. J times 1. Well, I hope most of you are at the point where you don't have to write j times 1 anymore. If you got to write j times 1, that's fine. But j times 1 is j. Well, it's 1j, yeah. And then I got to go 10 times 0.951056516. I certainly didn't need all those decimal places. I just wrote them so you can see I get 9.5 centimeters. Rounded to 1 decimal place. Once I get in the final answer, I can round. I'm going to put that on my diagram. And then I'm going to take a long pause to let your brain look at that and see why I don't need anything else in my guide.
Is that the angle?
It's the side.
Side?
Side J is 9.5 centimeters. Let it work around. Start thinking, what is it about the situation now that makes it I don't need any more steps in my guide? My guide's done. Anthony.
Like, you just gotta solve for, like, the guy did the Pythagorean theorem?
Yeah. Once you're there, you really only got to do SOH once. Because after doing SOH once, you're going to be home. So here comes, back to the guide here. Here's my arrow. Ready? After 2, maybe you turn around and go back to step 1 and do the things you can do from step 1. Yeah? So that's the only last part of the guide is sometimes in step 2, then you got to go back and do the stuff from step 1. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Make sure you have time to put the arrows on because I'm almost done for the day. Hi there. Welcome. Come in. You get to be on video. You'll be on my YouTube channel. No, come in. I don't know the number. It's in the math hallway. I don't have them all memorized. Here, actually, maybe. Watch this.
She's near or older?
No. Yeah.
Oh, where Mr. Martin teaches, that one?
That hallway, yeah.
Okay, I'll go find her.
No, no. Here we go.
These darn new numbers. 2116.
2116.
All right, thank you.
Good luck. Thanks for dropping by. Does anyone know why she's laughing? Teachers are so weird, eh?
Wait, what?
What? What happened? She's one of the Learning Center type teachers, yeah? Really, really, really good. Oh, wow. She's an incredible teacher, yeah. Okay, back to here. Pythagorean theorem coming up. Will this be adding or subtracting? He knows that so fast, and Scout knows it so fast. Tell us, Scout, how do you know so fast? Because we're not finding the biggest sides. I love how she's saying that. I think that'll help everybody. If you're not finding the biggest side, you got to subtract, right? So we're going I squared, I for Isla. Look at, you're in the question. I squared equals 10 squared minus 9.5 squared. And most people on the quiz just zipped through this. This was so good, which is good because we need the Pythagorean theorem in all this. 9.5 squared equals 90.25. Excuse me. Oh, throat. Must be something I ate. Scalp's note. 9.75. Look, I'm doing it in my head. You don't do them in your head. Do it in your calculator. I'm just trying to stay young. Too late, Mr. Todd. Yeah. Square root of 9.75. 3 square root 9.75 equals answer 3.1 centimeters. Is that part okay? Because Pythagorean theorem was good. That part went really well.
Your eyes don't
Wait, is that an I or a J?
It's an I.
do capital I to match the color?
Because I was doing a side. Capital I is the angle. Little I is the side. Yeah, no, I'm not crazy. Mathematicians, they don't write I's like this because they look like ones. So we write I's, the little script I, like that. Just a little bit different looking. If without,
Looks like an upside down question mark.
yeah? So mathematicians don't like that. Yeah? Yeah. But you don't have to use I, use X. You know, I was just, yeah, I don't know. Is it done?
Oh wait, no, you had to I equals 180.
I,
90
180 minus 90 minus 72
I equals 18
degrees. Okay? Was that on my guide? Did I put 180? Angles add to 180 on the triangle? I sort of did. I put it up there as a little reminder. And if that's not a good enough reminder for you, then you should draw a bigger triangle and write angles add to 180 to help yourself out there. So who needs more time here? How am I going to remember if I did all the sides? Put them on. Write them on the triangle. Then you know you've done it all. Okay? Do you need more time on the lesson? Here, give it to me. I'll break up with them. No, I'll do it.
Breaking up with him. It's his birthday.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Getting scared now. We need to. Shh. Do you need more time on the problem? How about more time on the guide? Do you need more time on the guide? the first question. That's what you need? Anyone need more time in the guide before I go back to the other part? This one? Friends, that's the quiz. Those type of questions. I'm going to, your homework, I'm going to steal those questions. Change the numbers, that's the quiz. That's what we got to be able to do on Thursday. Yeah.